And hi everybody out there, Mark Mannering here from Class Training with another You Know What, 3 tips in 3 minutes, more or less. We're going to look at some low-level, as I call it, low-level AI features in Excel for this session. Now, as you would know, there's Microsoft Copilot, which is Microsoft's version of ChatGPT, and you've got the standalone version, which is free with your Office 365, but there's also Copilot for Excel and Copilot for Word and so on. In my Excel, I've got Copilot installed, so on the Home tab, you can see the Copilot icon here. But that is an extra $30 a month per user on top of your subscription. So a lot of organizations aren't going with the individual Copilot apps. But, however, you have low-level AI features in Excel already with your standard Office 365 subscription. And let's get into it. So tip number 1 is to use the feature called Analyze Data, which is on the Home tab here, and over to the far right, actually right next to my Copilot icon. There it is, Analyze Data. And the way it works is that it works on your raw data. So if I've got a typical example here of raw data, I've got cost account here, I've got the expenses that I spent on each of those cost accounts, the office where the expense was incurred, and the department and so on, and a whole lot of data, a lot of raw data information. I need to analyze this, get a report, and so on. Okay, that Analyze Data feature will do it for me. So all you do is just click inside your raw data that we've got here, and I go to Analyze Data on the Home tab. By the way, this file is available for download in the comments, so you can follow along if you want it. Okay, so when I click Analyze Data, you get a pane coming up on the right-hand side, and immediately Excel gives you some suggested reports, suggested summaries. They call it insights. We'll just look at the insights here. So, for example, the first one it's given me is the amount summary, the amount by cost account, description, and office. And it's got a little report there. And most of these are pivot tables. So if I click Insert Pivot Table, it'll create a new sheet and give me that report. What's another suggestion? I've got the total amounts by office. So as well as a summary of the data, it's giving me a trend as to what the decreasing office or departments are, offices in this case, sorry, and I've got a nice report that I could use. So I go, I like this one. If I click Insert Pivot Chart, bang, it creates a new sheet down the bottom there automatically, and there's my pivot table with the chart already, and I like that report, so I go home early. Okay, if you know anything about pivot tables, you can click and adjust the pivot table to what you want and add more sections to it and so on. Back to the raw data, what else is it doing? If I scroll up, it's also asking questions or suggesting questions how I could interrogate my raw data. So for example, I could click in here and it's giving me some suggested questions, percentage distribution by the office, total GST rate and so on. Some of these are not relevant. Okay, so I can click in here and put my own question in. Okay, and there it is there. Which office has the largest amount of the expenses incurred? Now you need to use the same words as you have in the headings of your raw data. So it's office there, so I'm using the same term, and which office has the largest amount, so that's the same as the heading there. If I used which city has the largest amount, it may not interpret that correctly. Okay, so all I do is just click there and press enter. Okay, well Darwin's has the largest amount of expenses. Again, I can go Insert Pivot Table, and just one simple pivot table, but I can adjust that as well. Tip number 2 is to use Excel's What If Analysis feature. Well, for example, I've got a simple profit and loss report here. I've got my account and trading income and cost of sales and so on. And I've calculated over the whole year, the 4 quarters, what the net profit is as a percentage of the income. Now, this what if analysis feature allows you to predict or forecast. I shouldn't use that term because there's another forecast feature I'm going to show you in a minute. So we could say, well, that's 67.2%. Well, I want a 70% net profit for the whole year. So what if we got a 70% net profit of the income? What do the sales here have to be for the 4 quarters? Now, the only way you can do that manually is by trial and errors, because these are figures, these are actual data entry figures, static figures, And the percentage income or net profit of the income is a formula. So you can't just type that in, 70%. All right. So what you can do, you can use Excel's solver feature. What we do is to go to the data tab, and over on the right hand side, I've got solver. Now you might not have that installed on your Excel at the moment. You have to install it, and once it's there, it's there. So to use the solver, you just click the particular cell containing the figure that you want to change or predict, and we click on solver. So all we do is click into the set objective. We go click where the particular value is. It didn't go in exactly to a value of, well, I want 70%. So we have to type in 0.7, which is 70%. And it says then by changing what cells, what data did you want to forecast or predict to get that 70%? Well, it's these cells here. So the 4 quarters of the year. And once we select those, we just click solve. And it's come up with some figures. There's the 70% that I wanted to seek or find. And it's updated it's increased the 4 quarters in this case of the trading income relatively to what they were before to give me the 70%. And so we think, well, we've got to target those particular sales if we want a 70% net profit. Click OK to keep the result. And then tip number 3 is almost the same sort of thing, but it's called forecast sheet. So on the forecast sheet tab here, I've got my monthly sales from July 2024 to June 2025. We can see a bit of a trend here. It's going up and down. And there's the chart over there. And what we want to do here is to forecast into the next, say, 3 months after June 25, based on the particular trend that's there already. So we're extrapolating our data. The way to do that is to click anywhere inside the raw data here. And on the data tab, there's forecast sheet. Click that. And it's given me some suggestions. It's gone to the default of the next 3 months after June 2025. So I could click there and say, well, I want to go to December. So we'll say to the end of December. And it's given me, based on the trend at the moment, what the 3 forecasts are. So the bottom line here is the worst case scenario, middle is about the average, and the top line is the best case forecast for our data. And we say, yep, I like that. I click create. And again, it's created another sheet with the data results here and forecast, lower confidence and upper confidence and so on. Okay, so some built-in low-level AI features, as I call it, in Excel. Have a play with those with the sample file if you like. We cover all this in our Excel courses coming up. We've got some face-to-face courses and live online sessions coming up. So look over here somewhere or whatever for the link to have a look at when those courses are on, and hopefully we might see you in one of those sessions. Mark Mannering signing off. Until next time. Thanks. Bye.